Episode 79 of the Driveline R&D podcast. It's your boy, Kyle Lindley, Pulse Product Manager. I'm going to wait to introduce what I'm drinking today. Drinking until the rest of the intros.
Yes. And I'm Anthony Brady, Director of Sports Science Driveline Baseball, primary host of the Driveline R&D Research and Drinks podcast. No Alex Caravan today. So, you'll have to rate Lindley's
Birthday boy, dude. First off,
Lindley's intro.
We can't bury the lead.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Alex Caravan.
It's Caravan's birthday.
The primary host of the Driveline R&D podcast.
I don't know about that. Caravan's birthday, but he was traveling into last week and this week. So no Caravan, just Lindley and I. But we are joined by two guests today. So we got a double guest appearance. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Ben Jones, sports scientist, also chief launchpad operator.
Nice. We'll get into that. Little closer to the mic. There we go. Money.
All right.
Jared Skolnicki, sports scientist, also the primary host of the R&D podcast.
Okay. Easy there. I don't know about that. You look familiar. I feel like I've seen you doing maybe with some other guy. There's like a coach here at one point, I think.
I may have shaved. Before the podcast.
Okay.
Tidied up a bit, yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. So
And
we
a
got
fresh haircut.
Fresh. I tidied up, yeah.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah. Okay, Ben. So we got Ben and Jared, which is a great pun, a tag team duo combo for Ben&Jerry's.
Where did Jerry come from?
This goes back to 2019. Alex Valasek just randomly in a youth clinic said, "Hey kids, go see Uncle Jerry. He'll take you through recovery." And it just stuck ever since then.
Was it like were we calling Gary?
That
Gary
too.
at that
I mean, we
time?
have a
So it was
Gary,
like
a Terry, and a Jerry. So
Jerry. Yeah.
Max Garrett was turned to Gary. People still call him Gary. And then Jerry was next. So yeah, Ben and Jerry's. We're ripping. I got half baked here today.
I just want to go on the record that I did not agree to this idea at all. And I would prefer that we were drinking beer, but I'm doing it for the bit that we have Ben and Jerry on the pod. And so we're eating Ben and Jerry's. And also, this is 1,200 calories. I've never had Ben and Jerry's before, too. This is my first time. I didn't even know that Ben and Jerry's was an ice cream. So this is kind of a cool thing for everyone listening and watching. You know, it's going to be live reaction. First time having ice cream ever for me. I usually stay away from sweets, watch my figure, but here we are. Wait, I've got a Tonight Dough. I don't even know what that is.
What do you got, Ben?
I got a strawberry cheesecake, and I have also seen Brady eat
That is
quite a few.
okay.
quite
That's
a
up
few
for
Ben&Jerry's,
debate.
pints in this day.
Who you got, Jerry?
That's up for.
I have mint chocolate cookie,
Wow, ice cream is good.
and mine's only 1090 calories. So
You're kidding. Yours is 1090. Why
Yeah.
did I get stuck with the one that's the most calories,
I don't know. It's just like your taste, man.
dude? Okay.
True, dude.
Okay.
That's a good way to start, probably, Ben.
Yeah.
You-
Let's.
you
we
and-
need
you
to
and-
do some intros. We need to do some intros. Let people know. Ben and Jerry, both work in sports science. Two of our longer sports science full-time employees that we've had in the department. So yeah, let's do some intros. Let the people know who you are, what you do,
Where you're from.
how you got here.
go ahead, Ben.
Do you want me to go first? All right. Yeah. So I guess I've been here almost a year and a half now. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
But I've known Anthony since 2012. I think.
Yeah, and this is the first time you're
damn,
ever
that's
seeing
way earlier
me
than
eat
I
ice cream.
thought.
Yeah. We. Anthony was probably like one of the first people I met in college.
Goddamn right.
Played 4 years at University of Puget Sound, just down the road from here.
Shout out UPS, just got eliminated from
Tough loss,
the
man.
ability to make the playoffs. Actually, today we were watching though, was pretty hyped.
Yeah, it was a tough loss, but very standard ending to a UPS season.
Yeah, tough way to end it. Not having enough pitching and everything, but yeah, dude, Ben and I met fall 2012.
Yeah,
Played baseball together for 4 years.
Was that
lived
freshman
together.
year?
Yeah, freshman year.
Freshman year, yeah.
I think we were on like the same orientation group. I
Yeah.
feel like spent a lot of time in Anthony's dorm
That is very true.
freshman year.
And okay, real talk on the ice cream stuff. When I was a freshman, Ben can vouch. I was on a strict
yeah.
no
Yeah,
sweets,
for this.
didn't you run a lot
no
too?
nothing. Yeah, was running miles every day.
This Yeah, he was a.
I've never seen
completely
Anthony run a
different
mile in
person.
my life.
Okay,
freshman year, but-
maybe not completely different person.
I mean, if we look at like,
Having Ben on the pod might have been a bad idea. Actually, there's like this is a period of my life that most people don't know
I
about.
probably do have
damning.
the most damning information about anyone in the company.
That
but,
being said, though, a lot of it isn't that damning.
well, yeah,
A lot of it is like
it's damning when you consider like
4
you're
a.m.
at now.
waking up, running, grinder mentality. It's damning relative to where I am right now. Okay, that's pretty good. God damn it.
Yeah, but yeah, this guy used to wake up at like 5 a.m. every morning, go on like
Goddamn
4 mile
right.
runs, which definitely doesn't do anymore.
And still in the best shape of my life.
Yeah,
Throwing harder
crazy.
than ever.
that's
crazy.
true. Yeah, throwing harder than he did back then. Also, like
Goddamn right.
good 50 pounds heavier. A lot of muscle. A lot of muscle. A lot more
I mean, you
muscle
really
mass.
undersold me there. I appreciate that. It's probably closer to 65, 70, but
No way, dude.
I mean, yeah, freshman year I was
Yeah, he
155,
was-
160.
Yeah, he was pretty small.
And your
It's like
boy's
pretty crazy
100
looking back at
pounds,
pictures.
dude.
Your boy's 230 on a good day right now, so
But yeah, anyways, from California originally, Bay Area. But
Shout out
obviously,
NorCal.
yeah, NorCal. Obviously spent a decent amount of time up here in Tacoma.
Yeah.
With UPS. And then after college, well, during college, I kind of got into strength and conditioning. I went into college with like already knowing I wanted to do something within like sports medicine or sports science or just that general field. So I majored in exercise science around, I think, my junior year. We had like a new strength coach, Josh Gray. Shout out to Josh Gray, who was really good for like a part-time Division III strength coach. Like really cool guy to work with. Got me really strong. Kind of learned like why strength conditioning is important. And just like saw a ton of gains from the work we did with him. That got me really interested in strength conditioning, and along with Anthony, we kind of both realized we kind of wanted to pursue like a CSCS. So
Yeah.
pretty much first thing that first summer out of college, got my CSCS, and then kind of went in the strength and conditioning internship blender for a
Yeah.
couple years.
we did some stuff
With,
with the team doing strength and conditioning, the baseball team at UPS. Ben used to lead some workouts. That's some pretty good
You
names
were like
for him.
some names for him?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we
Ben would lead Ben Sanity.
yeah, we actually
What was the other one? Booty by Ben.
Booty by Ben was my workout
Oh,
program.
dude.
We had Booty by Ben workouts and Ben Sanity workouts.
Yeah, I actually got to the point where I would lead like warm-ups for the team.
Yeah.
Our senior year.
So you were like a unpaid strength conditioning intern,
Well
basically.
played.
That was yeah.
Both of them, dude.
But
I'm
then,
pretty sure I listed that on my resume.
Yeah, and then I mean to the point where our coaches in our like written practice plans would put like Ben Sanity
Yeah,
on
yeah.
top of the practice
Booty
plan.
by
That's
Ben.
hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
sick.
so and that's also like my Instagram handle.
Ben Sanity.
But yeah, so went into strength and conditioning, and I guess we'll talk more about like different internships I've done, but that kind of transitioned more towards kind of more of a focus in sports science, which did a couple internships before coming here, but before like fully transitioned to sports science. But I've always had like a pretty big strength and conditioning
Yeah.
background.
And how you got here is actually like pretty unique and interesting because you hit me up about it was your master's
Yeah,
work,
so
right?
yeah, so like kind of a couple, I think it was like 2019 I started a master's program at San Jose State, because I just like been through kind of like I said the strength conditioning internship blender of just like what I consider just like a perpetual intern with strength conditioning. It's like can be a pretty tough, at least for like the collegiate and pro.
A lot of
side
them
things.
unpaid too.
Yeah, a lot of unpaid internships. Like it's just like how you got to get your foot in the door, which is
Yeah.
it's tough, especially with just the bachelor's, which is what I had. Like I had, there's multiple like jobs I had applied for with my bachelor's where I was just like getting beat out by guys who like probably similar experience and like skill level, but it's just like they had a master's degree and a little more experience. And so I was like, all right, I gotta get a master's if I want to really go anywhere. So I did that. Like midway through that, I was kind of thinking about what I want to do for my thesis, and it was also like mid COVID, so
That's right. Yeah.
there was
Dude,
yeah, it was kind of like a crazy, everything just like, it honestly worked out really well, like for how crazy just like everything was in the world at the time. But yeah, I ended up reaching out to Anthony because I had gotten an idea from talking with Ryan Croton about doing like looking at like jump performance related to baseball specific performance. I was like trying to think like, who do I know that would I be able to like maybe get some data to do something with this. So I reached out with Anthony like originally just looking to see if I could get some like historical data from you guys like that I could use to do some type of analysis. Ended up I was like up in Seattle for like a week. Anthony brought me by the facility, got to check out the facility. Brand new facility, like it was, I guess it had only been like 4 or 5 months that you guys were here.
It was when we had like just moved in.
Yeah. And it just so happened that your RHB department had like an open internship, which was more like on the sports sciencey side of things, like running the biomechanics lab.
Yeah.
Which I honestly have like had very little biomechanics background before coming here.
Yeah.
Like I'd taken undergrad courses and whatnot, but like I didn't have lab experience really. Yeah, so like just kind of worked out, ended up getting that internship, and then originally was going to be working way more on the HP side, and helping them out. Which
And I was like, hell nah.
I did, but then
Ben's working with us.
Anthony kind of poached me to sports science, and kind of like I had already been trying to like transition more to sports science, but that kind of just like kind of sealed the deal in terms of like making the full transition to like sports science rather than just straight conditioning. So
Yep. All right, Jerry, what's up? How'd you get here? Break it down.
Sure. I grew up in Pittsburgh.
Yinzers.
The
I
Yinzers,
fucking
dude.
love that, dude.
Kyle loves the Yinzers.
I love these.
What's the Yinzers?
So Pittsburgh has its own dialect or a language. I don't know what to call it. They talk like some words are just not really English. If they're talking fast, like Ian's going downtown and south side and beach at. What? Yeah, so that's my best attempt at a Pittsburgh accent. I don't have one, thankfully.
It's like only in Pittsburgh. It's not like
yeah, this is I have a book that's Pittsburghese.
oh wow.
But yeah, it's so funny to come out here and tell people that because no one knows, like unless you've been to Pittsburgh. But
Yeah, that's news.
so I grew up there. Played college ball at Kent State. It's in Northeast Ohio near Cleveland. I was there for 5 years, actually. I was hurt one of the years. I had Tommy John surgery, so but I had to redshirt, but it worked out well. I mean, took the most of it, and then after that, I was able to sign with the Rockies for a year as a free agent.
Yeah.
Played with them for one season. Was released because I just didn't throw hard enough, and then
You got 190 in there. You got 190 in there.
I've touched a 90. It helps being lefty.
We saw it on True Media.
we
saw
said
it.
92.
Wait,
you
what?
touched a 90 like a couple weeks ago.
I thought you told me that you hadn't hit 9 before.
So
pro
on track, man, I got my data afterwards. The highest I saw was 89.97.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking cruel.
But apparently Bodie looked it up and said that I hit it on 90. It might have been with the Reds because the Reds don't share their TrackMan data.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was feeling good that game. So.
Let's go, baby.
I tried to play a little indie ball after that, but actually had knee surgery. I got hurt in spring training and then had knee surgery. It's tough to get back on the team. I was in a unique spot where I was still working out with the team while I'm recovering from surgery, but I wasn't making it. So I started looking elsewhere. Like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. But I actually trained at Driveline in 2015.
That's OG.
OG, yeah, back in the Attic days. So not like super OG, but before the 2-4 days. And so that's how I got familiar with a lot of the people like Kyle, Mike, guys like that. Stayed in touch with them every once in a while. Just shot a text message. And then whenever I was in that situation, I applied for the job actually in customer service at Driveline.
That was like 20. 18 or 19?
19, beginning of 19.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
19, 19
I actually, this was the second time I applied at Driveline. The first time was 2018 because I didn't know I was going to play. I didn't know I was going to have a chance to play after college, and but I wanted to work at Driveline. I was always drawn to that side of things.
I think that was the same. You'd applied before the internship, right?
I think I applied twice before. I think the first time I've never heard back.
Yeah.
And then
As
the
an HP intern?
Yeah, HP intern.
I mean, I think whenever I saw the interns, like whenever we had openings open up, I always sent it out to like you and anyone else from UPS and Sports High, like pretty immediately.
I think that the second time I applied, I made it pretty far, but it ended up, I had just like gotten a job as a high school strength coach. So I was like, just didn't really want to leave that. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So you applied?
I applied the first time and didn't hear back for a few months, and then finally got a text from actually Dan O'Coin. I was like, "What's up, dude? It's Dan,
current chief of research."
Yeah. But he was in CR looking for someone to probably fill his shoes. And
he's in a new CR now. From
dude,
CR to CRO. Research officer.
He added a letter.
Dude,
Let's go.
Crazy.
So I interviewed with him, and then the next step was with Mike. And the day before my interview with Mike is when I got a call from the Rockies. They was like, "Hey, you still want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah, I still want to play." So I didn't tell Mike that day. I just waited for him to call, and he was like, "Let's just jump right into the questions." And I'm like, "Before we do, I just want to let you know I'm actually in Colorado right now. I signed with the Rockies." He's like, "Oh, let's go." That's sick. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm still open to it. Like, I actually flipped the script on him. I was like, "So what advice do you have for me going into here?" He gave good advice, but we stayed in touch, and then that's when I applied again.
After you released?
Yeah, while I was in limbo on the indie ball thing, and had set up another call with Mike, and the day before I got brought into the office, I was going to tell him, like, "Hey, got a job offer, like ready to go." They're like, "Welcome back on the team." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" I was literally coming in to tell you I'm turning my uniform in. And they're like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was just like, "Well, I kind of want to play." So I did. I went on that road trip. I didn't play the first two games. The third game went into extras. We used every guy out of the pen, and I was the last guy left. It was the 12th inning. They warmed me up. It's one of those like sudden death, guy on second base. You start with the guy on second. We didn't score. So I come in. This is my first time back from surgery too. Guy on second. Got the 2 outs, but then gave up the walk-up single. Took the L. Decided that was my moment to turn in the uni, and then came to Driveline.
Oh man, up, dude.
Oh man,
that's crazy. That's crazy. So you spent a year in CR?
A year and a half, I believe. Okay. Yeah, maybe a little bit longer. I came in summer of 2019, and then made the transition about a year ago, April 2020.
Into sports science, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, that's right.
So we poached Ben and Jerry from other departments into the sports science department.
Took them both.
Yeah.
Had to. It was necessary.
That's right. Before Jerry was even in sports science, he was ripping validation collections for things like pitch logic and everything. Just like out, like he didn't even need anybody. Like he was his own. Oh, also, fun fact about Jared, he can throw with both arms. Like people can throw with both arms. He throws over 80 with both arms, which is insane.
Used to.
You probably still throw over 80 with your right arm. Oh, I mean, it's kind of like her now, but
we might have to test it. But yeah,
and
it's been verified in the lab.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
It's been verified.
It makes he's like doubly as capable for collecting data because he could just throw with both arms.
Yeah, jokingly, Jared is very valuable to sports science because of just the sheer amount of volume we can do if we need to test something, but. Obviously,
I think that's one of the reasons you guys brought me on, honestly.
I mean,
and I was my right shoulder wasn't feeling good at the time. I didn't want to say that, but
it was one of the reasons, but not the highest one for sure.
We'll go with that.
He also has the most data points in our motion capture lab, no doubt. I don't think there can't be anybody else.
Easy person to mark her up. Just his very prominent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Landmarks.
Great physique.
Yeah.
You haven't had a lot of ice cream
Just
in your
say
day.
I'm skinny.
Yeah.
Not a lot of ice cream.
You've
in your
actually
day, I
never
feel
had
like.
Ben&Jerry's.
I think this is one of the first, if not the first time I've had Ben and
Hey,
Jerry's.
me and you both.
Yeah,
Me and you both. It's pretty good. I
I
like
do
it.
like
I'm
it.
about to finish mine.
I like it
so.
so far. I'm a big fan. I don't know if I can finish the whole thing. Seems like a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I
Dude.
don't think I'd ever.
This guy.
I don't think I'd ever do anything like that. Okay, so one of the things with CR, I mean, what is I guess like differences between time in CR here and then time over here, like because I think it's you have one of the more unique perspectives. I mean, for sure, of anyone in sports science with all that time in CR, just like the amount of coaches and players that you've talked to over the years that ask about like our stuff and what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a really valuable experience for me to go into CR first.
CR customer relations. Probably should have clarified that earlier. I don't know. If we
Yeah,
did.
I was just gonna clarify it, but thank you. So basically, the main responsibility in CR is to just answer any questions, emails, phone calls. It could be from athletes, parents, coaches,
Yeah.
personnel,
If
major
you
league
reached
staff,
out
trainers.
if you reach out to support at Driveline Baseball at any time during that period, there's a good chance like you talk to Jerry.
Yeah. Especially since not to brag or anything, I have the most emails sent at Driveline all time. I'm
go.
gonna hang
Let's go.
that for as long as I can.
Do you think it'll
over-
ever get beat?
It'll get beat. I
What's
mean,
the-
I was
what's
only
the
there
number?
for a year and a half.
What's the number?
10,000.
Damn, bro.
Low 10,000s, but 10,000. I just surpassed Brian Leslie. Brian Leslie was at the top.
Oh wow!
Basically, when I surpassed him was when I was like, all right, I'll go sports science now.
Take my talents elsewhere.
Do you have any other records?
At Driveline?
No, in CR.
Oh, in CR. Well, most customers helped. I mean, there's a pretty strong
Yeah.
correlation there, but
What about like get hot kits sold or like?
no, that one I got to give that to Max Garrett. He might have the most legendary sell of all time with the vibrating massage ball.
what one was
You got to
that?
tell the story. You got it.
So this was back when we were in 5-4. We had that. We were separated, but had that small office where people can just walk right in.
Yeah, it was like across the parking lot from the training floor area.
Yeah.
In the same building as our warehouse.
Yeah. And we had, it was I think it was one of the carpenter workers or somebody who was like working on the roof. I don't know. And Max, we are in a competition to see who could sell the most vibrating massage balls at the time. And Max was, it's a monthly competition. He needed some sales. He goes out the door just using the vibrating massage ball, like didn't even say anything, just shows it off, like talks to the guy. And then comes back inside. 5 minutes later, goes back out. And then he starts hitting him up with like the vibrating massage. So you warmed him up real nice.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what is that thing? What does it do? And he's like, oh, it's really good. It like really loosens up the back. It helps recovery for our athletes. And the vibrating massage ball, don't get me wrong, it's a great product. And this guy was like, let me see that. He tries it on. He's like, how much are these things? And dude, Max was like, $40. I actually think they're 36, but he sold it to him for 40. He didn't even know the price, and he sold it to him just right on the spot. And the guy just loved it.
He's not even there to train or be an athlete or
No.
look for training
He's just
advice.
working on the
still
roof.
sells them. Yeah.
So Bodie ended the competition right then and there. He said it's over.
Yeah.
That was just legendary. So
I mean, that is pretty beast. That's pretty unmatched.
But,
Goddamn.
what were we talking about again?
Just like your
CR experience.
yeah,
CR versus sports.
learning
yeah,
from
yeah.
the 10,000 emails that you sent in CR.
Yeah. It was a great way to get familiar with the company first off. Just like understanding each department, what they do. Because you got research, you got strength, pitching, hitting. There's a lot of different inquiries that could come in from different people like wanting to know anything, and you have to
Yeah.
be able to answer it, or at least provide something that's going to be helpful to them or point them in a direction that's going to assist. So sometimes that would involve me reaching out to R&D or whoever the case is when I don't know something. But you do that over and over and over again, you start to learn and can start answering these things yourself. And it was just a really good way to, one, learn what Driveline does, two, learn about tech, because we were also troubleshooting for Edgertronics. We were troubleshooting for Modus at the time, now Pulse. All these different things that people will have questions about was a good way for me to learn as well. So that was probably the most valuable thing. And then just being able to talk about what we do and in a way that makes athletes want to train here, because we have a lot of really awesome services, like resources, coaches, everything. And we just need to be able to communicate that and explain why coming here is so beneficial and what you would get from assessing here and training here that you might not get elsewhere.
Yeah. I think that I feel like that job is getting easier somewhat. And at the time, like early on, I think in the earliest stages of Driveline, it was for sure the hardest because Driveline is an entity. We were still like having the conversations publicly about like, does velocity even matter? Like at least like that, you know, is now just known that it's like very important. So we've gotten over that hump. And then there's also still the stuff. I mean, I guess there's still some things that are like weighted balls are bad, but I mean, in the past, there's definitely way more like weighted balls equal injuries and all that stuff. So with the lack of information that was out there at the time, I feel like it was way harder to kind of like discuss what we do and for it to make sense. Whereas now I think it's easier for people to understand it because the other information is like, you know, out there, I guess. Right.
Yeah, I think so. It is difficult to know for sure because we're involved. We're in the middle of Driveline. We know everything about it, you know, to its core. Whereas somebody who doesn't they're not gonna know the same things that we know about how Driveline operates. So it is our responsibility to make sure that we communicate things clearly in a way that makes sense. I do think that a lot of these things have gained popularity over time and acceptance from coaches and players. I mean, how can a coach say that say no when their athletes come and like they've been doing this for years now?
Yeah.
Right. So
the results definitely help too.
Yeah, and
at all levels.
Yeah, it's gonna keep trending in that direction. And some coaches they're not gonna be fully on board with it, but I think we've eliminated the coaches, or not completely.
We've eliminated coaches.
Yeah, that's why I shaved my mustache.
We've been eliminating coaches.
I'm just talking broad picture, but eliminated. I should not use that word. There are less coaches now that are fully against weighted balls or like things like that. You know, they may say do it before like our structured practice or whatever. Right. But at least they're giving the athletes some flexibility, some freedom if that's what they want to do.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is just like the results and it like not being, I mean, it's just like not a gimmick in any way. I mean, I feel like in my time training and stuff, I was always looking for cutting edge stuff and like, what do I do to get better? That kind of a thing. And I remember in 2016, the most attractive thing to Driveline to me was like no guaranteed results. And it was just like Bodie thought very, you know, probabilistically and like scientifically. And it was like, I'm not going to tell you you're going to come here, train for 3 months and gain 5 miles an hour. But like, I'm going to tell you, we're going to give you the best plan that we think can do that. But I'm not going to sell you any like, you know, gain X miles an hour in X amount of weeks, like a lot of other, you know, programs and entities, I guess, do at the time, or products too. Right.
Yeah. I mean, weighted balls, I don't view it, that's not a gimmick to me. The way I see it is just, it's a tool that you can use to help you if, you know, you like using weighted balls.
Yeah.
I personally have grown to really like, especially the heavy ones, just as a warm up every day. Like I throw that first, makes my arm feel good. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can use them to help, whether it be just on ramping, gaining arm endurance, arm strength, arm speed, however you want to use them. It's just another tool that you can have to basically improve your performance. Yeah. That's how I see it.
That's a saved CR reply right there. I can tell that was rehearsed. You got that phone call before.
I've sent that email a few times. It might have made it a saved reply.
Yeah. Fire. Okay. So now, both of you guys, I guess in sports science, I mean, our sports science team is right now, it's not as big as it was in the summer when we had all our interns, but There's five or six of us, a little bit of Lindley, a little bit of Besky in there. But I guess what have you guys been doing primarily in sports science as of late? For you, Jared, we'll start. Changes from working in CR to now kind of like working in sports science over the last year and a half.
Yeah. Working in sports science it's different than CR, where CR, you're kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but it depends on what people are coming at you with, right? So that's your work, is other people's demands, other people's questions. I feel like in research now, I become the person that's asking the questions and trying to find stuff out myself. So my time isn't necessarily used in something that has to be done. Now it's something that is looking to improve either how we operate, research in baseball, whatever it is. But now it's definitely almost like a 180 where we have the flexibility, and that's one really cool thing about working in R&D here, is we have the flexibility and the autonomy to come up with new ideas and test them and see how it works, especially because we have so many cool resources and ways to collect data. There's almost an infinite number of things that we could do. So it's just prioritizing what's going to be helpful right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think one of the things that you do really well too is like even just leveraging our own internal tools and almost like reminding people that we have them, right? Like a lot of conversations happen internally that most people outside of Driveline don't know about, where the same questions that you might email into CR or ask about, like our trainers and people ask the same things. We'll have channels in Slack that are just like, hey, what is this thing? And a lot of those, we have so many products and tools sometimes internally that sometimes people forget. And I feel like I've seen you kind of constantly just like, oh yeah, you can answer this by just like going into one of Besky's tools that he's made and sorting the database like this and looking at, trying to identify, certain athletes that do this. Like we have all these really powerful tools that are at everyone's fingertips to kind of like answer those questions now, right?
Yeah, some of those tools are awesome. Like Besky's really does answer a lot of questions that are related to the Biomech side. But yeah, it's just knowing, and I do think that's partly been from the CR, like learning everything about the company and kind of like how things integrate. But that is one cool thing is that I didn't know necessarily before I got here, is the interactions between pitching side and research, or hitting and research. Where if they're curious about something, they have us to ask questions about, and we were able to answer these to help them. And now we have these tools, like you mentioned, where they can just kind of, as long as they learn how to operate them or like what to think and how to structure it, they can do it themselves, which makes things really cool too. Saves us some time and allows them to explore new things on their own as well.
Yeah, I think that's how I've been thinking about a lot of things recently too, with just kind of how stuff has changed over time internally with the way that we do stuff. Obviously it's no secret how much like skill floor turnover we've had, just because our coaches are, as soon as you coach here at any point, you're automatically on like multiple MLB teams' radar for like coaching jobs, even college jobs as well, right? It's like, okay, that person spent time at Driveline. They obviously know how to develop a baseball player because they work at the best place in the world that does that. So there was definitely points where, we were losing all our friends and like to pro ball jobs, and that sucked. But it almost doesn't even matter, because we have so many tools at our fingertips that right away, if you come to coach here and like coach and work with athletes, you just have the ability to like answer questions that you might have to become a better coach right away. When it comes to biomechanics, workload, programming, strength and conditioning, anything, like all of those resources are just like immediately at your fingertips, and there's just no way we could like lose that with someone leaving. We finally built out those like scalable tools that kind of like accomplish and empower everyone here.
This is kind of an aside, but I think it even goes the other way. Like a lot of R&D departments and people who work in R&D or work in product or whatever might not be able to interface with trainers and coaches and athletes as well as we do. because like we always like a lot of people talk about how like special it is that the training floor is so close to the R&D department, and that's obviously valuable because the like trainers can learn more about the research side of things, but like we also learn a ton, just as much or more the opposite way, right? Like some of you, me and Caravan have talked about it before, but like without having the playing experience that like you do or some of the other people in R&D do, it's like we just need to be able to have those conversations, interact with both CR and the training floor, to learn about that stuff. I just think it's like bar none, Driveline is the best place to learn about like overall baseball like development and how to improve that over time, like in all aspects of like everything involved.
I mean, I've talked to a lot of like I've been able to meet a lot of really, really brilliant people, especially as of late. I feel like they're just like super, super skilled and technical. But it's hard. I think it's really hard for that person if you don't have like some type of background or understanding for baseball. And it's something that we've talked about a lot. Like I think on the intern hiring thing, you know, one of the things that I've always talked about that's like super valuable is if someone has experience working with a team at their school or something, just getting time kind of like hanging out with players or in the dugout and learning to speak their language or, you know, how they kind of do things. Cause you know, the best insights in the world just don't mean anything if it can't like apply to the player. Right. And I feel like, I mean, through my time doing stuff with biomechanics, I've gone like so deep into things and then like felt like I've figured something out or developed something. But if it can't like relate back to the guy that's just training out on the floor, it's hard to really show how impactful that is, like at scale. You know, I think that's one of the more important things that sports science within R&D, that's always kind of like a big thing that I've prioritized. I mean, it's a big reason having both of you on, just like being former player backgrounds, like us playing at UPS and then, you know, your playing background, your background in CR, having the ability to relate and understand the like technical concepts and then take it back to, you know, the days at UPS when we were just freaking losing a lot of games, but but still like that time playing and trying to get better, you know, being able to relate it back to the kid on the baseball team is just trying to like get more innings or get more at bats. You know, how can you really help them kind of? Yeah. On the so what kind of things are you working on right now to get into some of the technical stuff, like on your end in sports science, Ben?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, part of the reason I had originally come to Driveline was that what we've called the jump study. So kind of looking at how jump performance relates to baseball specific performance in both hitters and pitchers. So that's kind of been something I've been doing pretty much since I started here. It's had to take a backseat at times just with different priorities and whatnot, but it's been something like just kind of steadily been working on. And at this point, we've finished collecting a pretty large sample of like I think something around 70 athletes.
I was about to say, dude, that and Wass's dissertation are like probably the most well structured and like collected data or like data sets we've had. Going like Comstock texting athletes like on the weekend to have them or to let them know what to expect when they come in for their assessment and making sure everybody gets all the measurements and everything.
Yeah, Comstock's been super helpful with that. And like, I mean, that's part of it's also just like the data collection for that was like 8 months, 9 months. It was like such a long process that we, by the end of it, like we had such a like dialed system that it was, I mean, didn't even have to tell Dan like what we needed to do. We already like would be texting athletes trying to get guys into the study.
What's the process?
So I mean, part of obviously like the initial assessment for athletes is on your day one. You come in to do a throwing mocap. So I think it was you guys when I originally reached out. We were kind of trying to figure out what would the best way to go about getting them to into this protocol, which the protocol is nothing crazy. It's just like mocapping them doing a couple different jumps. So the whole purpose behind it, just like there's not a ton of research out there on just different like jumping performance and how it relates to baseball, as like that specific population. So kind of wanted to look at like kind of all the main jumps strength coaches use. So like counter movement jump, a squat jump. So like your vertical sagittal plane jumps, as well as like pretty common, and I've used it myself, and I've seen other strength coaches use like broad jumps and lateral bounds, or just something outside of the sagittal plane. Yeah. And then outside of the vertical direction. Just the thought behind that being just, baseball players aren't moving in the sagittal plane a whole lot, or at least like only moving in
you don't counter movement jump the ball down the mound. Yeah,
exactly. Which, as we can get into later, I don't know how important the specificity is there. But anyways, the protocol is pretty simple. Just, do 3 reps of each of those jumps in the lab while being marked up before we send you over to do your like normal day 1 mocap. So it was the process was like last summer, which was when we're our busiest time of the year, when in the summer, just reaching out to guys before they come day 1, seeing if they want to participate. If they do, we basically run 2 guys at a time in the in our HP lab, mocapping them through all those jumps. After that, they'd finish up their warm up and come over to our other lab and throw in there just like a normal throwing assessment, like 5 to 10 fastballs off the mound. And that was pretty simple like protocol. But
simple in theory, but like very, very complicated in like
that's
practice.
research.
It definitely was like a bit of a challenge, like logistically, and which I think we got it down to a really like good point where just like wasn't too hard to get new athletes in there.
That's what I was saying was so impressive, because and there's been some research on some of the jumps compared to like general performance, right? Like there's more research on how jumps in certain measures relate to like velocity, or like typically that's it, velocity, command or whatever. But it's super cool like adding in the extra measurements for yours to see like more of the underneath the hood.
Exactly. I mean, that's the really cool part that I'm excited to dig into. Like I've really only, with the analysis I've done so far, it's just like really scratched the surface, and I've really only looked at that piece of it of just like related to velocity. But the nice part about it is, like I said, we mocap them jumping, so we can get kinematics and kinetics of the jumps, get force plate, ground reaction force, which there's not a lot of research. A lot of the research is looking more at like the jump output, like how high you jump, that type of thing, and how that relates, which so far we found like that's a pretty good indicator for velocity. Or relates more so than some of the like components of ground reaction force. But the cool part that I'm really excited to look at is, since we have that, we also have the piece in the lab where not only are they just throwing to a target with nothing on them, they're markered up, they're in the mocap lab. We have force plates. So I think the thing I'm most interested to look at is specifically more, I guess, with the non-sagittal plane movement, so like your lateral bound and broad jump. You hear strength coaches and other coaches always talking about how when you're in the weight room, you need to be moving in similar planes and putting force in the ground in similar ways to how you're actually doing it in your sport. So we can actually see, all right, we have a lateral bound, which is theoretically a max effort movement in the frontal plane on one leg, which if we think that the pitching motion is the same thing, where a guy is pushing off as hard as they can off their back leg, well, we can compare that to an actual max effort single leg movement in the frontal plane, and see if like the ground reaction forces look similar at all. So that's something I'm really excited to look at, and just in general, I kind of feel like it's different enough. Like that's a big thing with, I think, strength and conditioning is trying to find specific movements that apply to the sport, which
specificity.
which I think
That's a big S&C.
at times, S&C coaches can kind of overplay their role in specificity. I don't think there's a lot of specific things you're going to do in the weight room that are going to be, at least compared to like, throwing a weighted ball is probably like the most specific thing you could do on like the spectrum of like a resistance, training thing, which is honestly more of like a skill side thing than like a weight room thing. So I do think like we'll see like I imagine we'll see some like relationships there, but I just don't think they're going to be as strongly as like some strength coaches like say they are. And I mean, from what I've looked at so far, part of me is just like maybe it's just that like more athletic guys jump really well, and they also throw really hard. And it's not so much.
There could be some weird like underlying bias in there.
Already. Yeah, it's causation doesn't or correlation doesn't equal causation. It's just like they're really athletic and they also throw hard. So it's not just. I mean, it might be in part because of how they produce force, but like it might just be that they're good athletes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that data set is going to be like very foundational for a lot of just general like force plate stuff that we get into too. Because I know that like on the pitching side, having force plates in the mound, we're already asking a lot of questions about like, okay, so let's dig more into ground reaction forces on the front side and back side. But having that extra paired data set of like, okay, we see these movers that block like this or have this sort of like back leg push off, whatever. We can also go over now to the jump steady data that you've collected and been like, okay, what do they look like for the other movements, right? And maybe we're able to figure out some athlete typing things. I mean, I think it's going to be a very foundational data set because it's going to allow us to just like ask and then immediately answer so many more questions than the initial one that you're trying to like look at, right? And I think that's why it's like a really good like piece of research and thing to chase down.
I mean, I imagine they're going to be doing a lot of stuff with the data set for a long time from and I mean the other piece I didn't really even touch on was just like since they're markered up, we get kinematics and can look at how is a jump really anything like kinematically similar to a throw, which my guess would be it's not as similar as people like to think it is.
Not to mention it's a very elite data set relative to what you would see in most literature out there.
That's true. I mean, I would imagine like if you looked in some other research, it's the mean velocity is like maybe 80, which we had a mean velocity of like 85 across like our entire sample, and then we also had a pro data set within that of I think we got up to like 17 or 18 pros with a mean velocity of 90.
Shit!
And I mean, we had a pretty large spread. The hardest thrower in the data set I think was like 95. I think we had a couple 95s or 94s all the way down to like high 60s. So it's like I think it's a pretty well representative sample for both like collegiate players and also pro, at least like a lower end minor leaguer or
what playing level was Jared in the study? Because you're a participant, right?
I was the last guy.
You brought it home.
I PR'd.
You rounded out the data set.
Yeah.
You also set the record, didn't you?
He was number 69.
You were not.
I swear that's his
nice.
Let's go,
I guess I'm
dude.
not supposed to share like subject information. But,
dang it.
We just to be anonymized, dude.
We just broke our beat.
So maybe he's not subject 69. But
you have the record on the jumps, right?
He did have the longest broad jump in our data set, which was only, I mean, no shade to Jared. It was like 9 foot. I think it was like 9.3 feet.
Ben's comparing me to NFL cornerbacks over
here. I was just, we wanted to look at like what good combine numbers were and compare Jared to that, which he was almost NFL like
cornerback level.
You were still 0.7 off from the average cornerback broad jump distance.
I bet you throw way harder than them though.
Yeah. They can't hit 90 in a baseball lap, no shot.
Yeah, you also PR'd, like you hit a record on your broad jump, and you also PR'd in the mocap lab off the mound.
Wait, was that just recently?
My bad. Yeah, this was February.
Oh,
I think.
Yeah.
No, early.
I think it was March. I think we finished up in
March.
March. Yeah.
didn't you just recently PR again?
That was for his study.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought that was like 2 weeks ago.
It was like a
You were
really big-
shooting for 92, right?
It was like I think it was like mid-March.
Anthony was shooting for 92. Actually, what?
Cliff Holmes was shooting for 92.
Yes, you're right.
Dude, is time flying? I feel like I'm going crazy right now because I swear I saw you out there like
it wasn't
throwing in
that
the
long
lab.
ago.
It was like a couple.
Yeah, that was. Were you watching through the window?
Yeah, yeah.
That was Ben's study.
That
was in
I
nuts,
think that was,
dude.
pretty recent.
Yeah.
But
PRs, baby.
I
Sorry
did
to
not hit
derail it.
92.
Just wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy.
what do we got? Ben and Jerry's update, real quick.
How was your
I've been
first
kinda
time Ben and
slow.
Jerry's?
I mean, it was pretty
Anthony?
good. I won't lie. I'm gonna eat ice cream way more.
It's almost like
crazy.
you have like a technique to eating this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you know what you're doing.
I still can't believe
What about
this,
you guys?
this is 1,200 calories.
What about you, Jerry?
It's good. I'd say like an eighth done. So what is that?
I feel like a degenerate, dude. I've been done for
100
like 15 minutes.
That is slow progress.
Yeah,
It's impressive. That's more impressive than
I still have part of the top layer.
that's insane. What about you? What do you got on?
I'm
the
like a little
strawberry
bit
cheesecake?
past Jared. I've been going slow.
Oh,
which is-
you've been going around though, pretty
told
symmetrical.
you,
Lindley's done.
me and
Lindley was
Anthony.
done like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, I've been.
Maybe
done,
that's
dude.
why he's out of it.
Lindley finished it before we got
And
done with intros.
Anthony and I have the same eating strategy.
And this is my
going
first
around
time
the-
eating
the
this.
sides. That's a lie.
Ben's something crazy.
Jerry has been. Or should we wait until after the season, or let's get a mid-season update?
Oh, yeah.
A mid-season
Mid-season.
update on coaching high school.
Yeah,
This is your second year.
this is my second year. Yeah, COVID eliminated the first, so this is my
Man,
third.
there's that eliminated word again.
Yeah,
You really,
Truncated.
yeah.
My SAT vocab wasn't.
you're all
the
in
best.
on
Same,
eliminated
bro.
today. COVID really
elimination
eliminated
is-
is like,
yeah.
whoa, where's it going with that?
But yeah, COVID ruined my first year plans. Last year I coached at a different high school. This is my first year with this team at Tahoma. It's been going well. The team is 9-4 currently, but we've got some good pitchers, which I work mostly with the pitchers.
Perfect game, right?
There was one, yeah, we had one perfect game performance, which was awesome. I'm not taking credit for a perfect game. That was the kid, 100%. He just like pitched really well, you know. And it was awesome to see. I've never even seen a perfect game in my life, you know.
Yeah.
So even to just watch it as a coach
Yeah,
was
hell
like
yeah, dude.
pretty awesome to see. And he did it in 90 pitches, so it wasn't anything like ridiculous. Obviously, if you have a perfect game, you're not going to throw a ton, but it was within the means of letting him go for it.
Nice.
And yeah, it was awesome.
Nice. That's awesome. What is your? Did any of the first question? Are you trying any like tracking tech or like whether it's ball flight or like any biomechanics or anything with like pitch AI with any of the athletes? And then like follow up, are they like how receptive are they to it? Are any of them like interested in it at all?
Yeah, the biggest thing we've used is a Rapsodo. I bring that to bullpens. We used it for tryouts just to get a baseline. So that's been the biggest thing, is just teaching them like what these numbers mean first off. Get them to understand a little bit of differences between breaking balls, what it means to cut the fastball, how that affects different things. So understanding movement. So a lot of it's been pitch design. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing I've done as far as using tech. And then just working with them to help improve some things. So typical common things that you'll see in high schoolers is they tend to cut the fastball a lot. We notice that with guys at our gym as well, which just means that you're not getting the most amount of movement as you possibly can with the fastball. Some guys just naturally cut it, so you're not going to get it to be perfect. But if we can make improvements, that might benefit. And then also understanding the difference between breaking balls. So like curveballs and sliders, a lot of guys think they're throwing curveballs and it comes out to be sliders. And then they'll throw their slider and it's the exact same pitch. So it's just having that data to be like, hey, your breaking balls move the exact same. Your slider is actually 3 miles an hour harder. So with all things equal, we should just throw your slider and just eliminate the curveball. Or in the case of the kid who, in the case of the kid who did throw the perfect game, we added a curveball to his arsenal. So he had what he thought was a curveball was a slider. It was a good one. Just mainly gyroscopic slider. So not a ton of like horizontal break, but we did add, just basically had him, supinate a little bit more, get more topspin, and he was able to throw a curveball only 3 miles an hour slower than a slider with 10 more inches of vertical break. So we just, classified 2 different breaking pitches, and then he was able to throw both during that game. Actually caught their 4-hitter who was just fouling off in a full count, in a perfect game.
Let's go.
He busted the curveball, called strike 3. So, just like froze it, which that was the first time he threw it in games. So I was pumped to see that too, just to have confidence that quickly with the pitch. But the guys overall have been really receptive to seeing this stuff. Every time I bring the Rapsodo, I get guys that swarm to the bullpen and just want to throw. We had a guy that threw the day before. He wants to throw on the Rapsodo, and I'm like, dude, you just pitched yesterday. But like, so they just want to see these things, just know how they can get better. And then we have other guys who they are receptive, but probably a little confused with some of the numbers. So it is important to make sure that you explain what spin efficiency is to these guys, right? Because they might think, oh, that's low spin efficiency on their slider. Like that means it's bad. No, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, it's all in context of your fastball, all in context of how you use it. And then the other part is just executing once you get that down. In high school, you don't have a ton of time to really work on these things long-term. So you need to find a solution that's going to work in games quickly, that guys can work on in practice when they're playing catch, things like that. So it's not major surgery or anything like that. It's just finding ways to incrementally make them just a little bit better, which, could be the difference. So
do most people end up just like trying to go with 2 pitches, or like how common is it that you were able to add a third or like 3 like actual distinct pitches?
Not common. That one guy is actually we've had 2 guys. We had a kid that had a good curveball actually, and but it was slow. He threw it 65 to 68. His fastball's 80. So we added a slider, which for him, he's already cutting the fastball a lot, and I figured a slider would be something that he could pick up pretty well because of that.
The sweeper?
That's what I thought, but it did take him some time to get a feel for it. But now he understands what it's supposed to do, how it's supposed to spin. So when you get the education piece down on that side, then guys can kind of feel the differences. And now he has 2 distinct breaking balls, which he might not use in the games every time. But now if one's not working, he can go to the other. And so, it opens up. It also, before that, they probably didn't even know what the difference truly is.
Yeah.
So just getting them, with someone who's not super familiar to this, we're exposed to it every day. But with someone who's not as familiar, teaching them is probably just the biggest part of it, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And is it possible? How like effective do you think they are at once you throw on a Rapsodo or on any tracking tech and you like have this profile or this pitch that you want to like shoot for? How well can they, if they're not, because they don't have access to Rapsodo every day, if you're not there, if you don't bring it out, whatever, they don't, if they don't have one with their team, like do you think they're able to throw it in catch play or throw it in a pen if they don't have Rapsodo and like know when that was a good one, just by like, are you able to kind of train their eye to be like, okay, yeah, that was what I was looking for?
Partly yes, but I'm not fully convinced that they're at that point yet. I do think it takes some time, because sometimes when you're throwing, like you do want to get that feedback. Oftentimes too, they might be biased towards location. So if they throw it in a good spot, they'll just assume it's good. But overall, I think they're more aware now. Like, oh, that one seemed really loopy. Like I told him his curveball pops up out of the hand because he throws it slow. And now when he's throwing one or he's throwing a slider, let's say, he can say, "Oh, that one felt like it popped out of my hand a little bit. Like I could tell it went up." So like things like that. I do think they're able to pick up on some of them. Yeah. I mean, it's impossible to know the difference between 3 inches and
for sure,
and like 6.
Yeah.
But things like that you can more easily pick up on, they are more aware of.
Yeah. I feel like that's one of my one of the nicer things about doing a lot of pitch designs lately. Just like personally is like pairing my feels with what the data
Training your ISOTA.
Huh? Yeah,
Training your ISOTA.
exactly. Like honestly, the first few times with Langen, it was like seeing the pitch move. It was like I don't know what that's going to say, and then it'd be like, okay, that was like, 14 horizontal and 3 vertical. But now it's to the point where because Langen's pretty good at it too. I mean, Langen, he doesn't even have to throw it; he can just see it, and he can be like, that's gonna be the right one, and then sure enough, it'll like pop up on TrackMan in like the area, and like I've started to try and do that too. As soon as I throw it, I'm like, I got on top of that one a little, and then like anticipating it to show up on TrackMan or whatever, like not where I want it to, and then like feel one come out of the hand, and just right away you're like, that's it, so that when you're kind of like out there and in the game.
Yeah, I was about to say it's probably super valuable, right? For like when you're
there's not a lot of PIL games or fields with live TrackMan data anywhere. Definitely not something I have regularly for sure. Yeah, that's been super nice.
How are the coaches with like the things you're bringing to the team? Like, do you bring weighted balls, or do they have weighted balls?
You bring Ben&Jerry's?
Yeah,
I haven't brought Ben&Jerry's. Yeah, they give me the freedom to kind of do whatever I want. The nice thing with this high school team compared to last year is we have POs, which I didn't know existed in high school, to be honest. But like we've got a staff of 4 guys that are only pitchers.
4 of them.
And
I was a PO in high school, but it was like me and.
That's tough, dude. I'm sorry, man.
It was fucked up. I should have been able to hit. I was better than my DH.
I was kind of a PO at the end of high school, like the last couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
last couple of weeks.
It makes sense. This high school is one of the larger high schools in the area, so there's a lot of kids that try out, and they know that their best shot of making the team is on the pitching side, and so they just focus on it. Plus, pitchers are better. But yeah, dude, in high school we've got POs, dude.
Yeah, so, I remember going into summer ball. I like wanted to be a PO because like being a 2A, I was just like, well, because I mean it was just like a lot, and I sucked it. I wasn't that good of a hitter. That's fair. But even if I was like a decent hitter, you just lose so much when you're a hitter. I liked being a pitcher way better. It was like hitting was just constant like negative feedback loops. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be excited. I went, 1 for 4 today or whatever. Like, not. Yeah,
that's fair.
I also hated it when I was pitching, and I would like strike out a couple times because I did that a lot. And then I go back on the mound and I'm just like still mad or like sad.
Yeah.
Just like, God, now I have to come out here and compete on the mound.
Yeah. I didn't really like fielding either, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think I was like that good of a fielder by any means, but yeah, I think I just liked what I was good at. And I was definitely better at pitching than any of the others.
For sure. That's cool though.
But yeah, I have plyos. I got the rebounder. So I have the set for recovery stuff. They do the pull aparts. On days that they're not throwing like high intent. But then for plyos, it's specific to the guys. I mean, if there's something I want to work on, then I'll pull out the plyos. And in the case of the one kid who was cutting his fastball, just gave it a shot, right, to stay behind it more. And with the heavier balls, just feel like that you're not coming off the side of it. I brought some clean Fuego balls, which I actually never used personally, but like the concept I really like.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that makes it really easy for him to see that he's cutting it.
Yeah.
And then combine that with the Rapsodo data you're getting, it's like, okay, I can tell I'm cutting it. Now I need to do something about it. Or, really then it becomes, should he do something about it, would be the second part. I mean, it's high school. We have a few weeks of the season. You don't want him to just completely like Luke, because he's a good pitcher, right? So you don't want to change him to the point where he's not going to be effective. He's a senior. It says last year he's not playing college ball. So this is going to be the last year playing. And so you balance that too. Not that I think he shouldn't increase his spin efficiency, but one thing is we worked on a two-seamer, and with two-seamers, when you cut the ball, you tend to get some seam shifted wake, or like that's the theory. Guys who do tend to cut the ball. So we worked on a two-seamer to kind of play into his strengths more. Like, just this is who you are right now. Let's see how this goes. And his two-seamer actually does move a lot. Like, I don't have a TrackMan, so I can't tell compared to a Rapsodo, but I do see a significant difference. So it's almost like finding that balance between what should be changed and what you can use that the athlete has that could actually work in their favor or as a strength for them. So he's a unique case that I think two-seamers might actually be the move. And so, you know, we've been working on it, and I think he should probably throw all two-seamers. But yeah, it's
interesting. Cool. Yeah. Did you do anything with the hitters at all?
No.
Because when Ben and I went, we saw a bomb.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
You're not gonna take credit for that, dude?
There are some good hitters.
Dude, was not expecting that. That guy yeeted that ball.
Yeah. Did you see the other one too? We had two bombs.
I think we just
both
saw
the last.
the second one.
I don't know if we saw the second one.
Pole bombs? Righties?
Pools,
I just remember
righties.
the righty that hit the one down the line.
Yeah. We saw the pull one down the
There's
left.
two righties down the line, but yeah.
It was hammered.
No, the team, we've given up 0 home runs this year. We've hit probably 5. So.
Ooh, man, we saw
good
one
ratio.
of them. We saw one of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of hitting, I mean, you've been doing a lot of the hitting Biomech stuff. And I know, Jared, you've been involved in a lot of the hitting roundtables. We've kind of talked about them a bit, but honestly, we've been giving hitting biomechanics a lot of plugs on the pod recently. But like, what are you guys' like most exciting things about hitting biomechanics going on that we're kind of chugging away at right now?
Yeah, I mean I guess last I don't even know. The last like 6 months or so has been really focused on building out like a system and a pipeline to process hitting biomechanics data and kind of leverage what we've been collecting in the lab, which we've been able to start looking at more lately. And I think I've gotten a lot of direction from what Max Dudo said and talked about in terms of like kind of where our focus should start with the hitting biomechanics data that we've collected. And he's really into kind of trying to, I don't know if solve is the right word, but like look into bat path, bat speed, and kind of figure out what we need to focus on there. Just because I think like blast is great. Like some of the hitting tech we use is great, but it's nowhere close to what we can get in the lab. And so
many more data points.
Yeah. And so it's kind of been like a process of kind of trying to like reverse engineer what matters in the bat and ball collision. Like what is going to produce an efficient collision with the ball to produce a high exit velocity in the directions you want to. And then on top of that, like there's a ton of variables that go into like the outcome of a bat ball collision. But like what is in the control of the hitter, and like what do they have the most control of? And I've been really interested in looking into like one, obviously bat speed is going to have a huge impact over the exit velocity of the ball, and just like the direction the barrel of the bat is moving, and we can really like look a lot closer at both those things in the lab. So I've been trying to like look at bat speed and more of like just like the direction of the velocity of the bat. So like what direction is the bat moving when it's contacting the ball, and like how fast is it moving in that direction? I think that's just going to add an extra layer to what we get with blast. On top of that, like we've already seen like in a small sample, like I don't know how great blast is at like if you just took one swing and looked at someone's blast bat speed, like it'll give you a general idea of like where they're at. But
there's going to be some variability.
Yeah, there's going to be variability, and that's just not done as much the case in the lab. So you can get a really good idea of like how fast this guy moves the bat.
Because blast gives you that kind of just like the single point of contact where you do get like the direction from attack angle, and then like the magnitude from
Yeah.
the velocity, but in the lab we can get that at every single point that the bat is moving.
Yeah, and then we can break down the resultant velocity vector of of the barrel of the bat and into its components, like how fast is the barrel of the bat moving towards the mound, which is the direction that the ball is moving towards. Like maybe if a guy's able to swing with their velocity moving towards the mound at a higher percentage of their resultant velocity, it might lead to a better bat ball collision. It's kind of like the ideas I've been playing around with my head, and trying to figure out like how to get deeper into like bat speed. Because obviously I think a lot of trainers and like myself and athletes will say all the time, like there's like we'll see like guys who swing the bat the exact same or faster on blast, and they just like hit the ball 10 miles an hour slower. And it's like, why is that? And I mean, it partly speaks to just the limitations of blast, but also just I don't think you can't get as good of a picture of like of the direction and velocity of the bat at contact, which we can get in the lab. So yeah, that's kind of been what I've been really interested in looking at. Like the other nice part, like blast just gives you like discrete metrics at certain time points in the swing, whereas we have full signal data throughout the entire swing. We can see what a guy's bat speed looks like at like the peak bat speed, or at contact, or after contact. Any point in the swing, we can see like how fast the guy's moving the bat, or what direction their bat's moving. Like if you think of like early connection, like the bat and body, the angle between the torso and the bat, like blast just gives you that at one point in the swing, which is good. But we can see, all right, well, at like before they get to that point, which blast calls like the downswing, like how is their barrel getting to that point? After that point, how's their barrel getting to contact? So I think there's just like so many more opportunities to get a bigger picture of like, I mean, like I said, I think the bat metrics are like really where I think we'll see a lot of really cool things.
It's like that's the best way that I think of like biomechanics in the applied setting, is just like you have this interaction that's happening. In this case, it's like a collision. And now, because of the biomechanics data, we can describe and understand all of the physics that go into it, basically. Whereas like with blast, it'd be tough, or even just with something like K-Vest, there's still like forces and movements that aren't, measured by that. But we're going to know how the bat reacts off the bat, or how the I'm getting Ben and Jerry's drunk. How the ball reacts off the bat, and we're going to know exactly how the bat moved in space, and exactly how like every segment of that person's body moved in space. Combining those together is just like we know everything that happened to produce that.
Exactly. I'm also really curious to see, like, to better understand, like, we have these bat metrics. We do know some things about the height and weight of the athlete, but there's very little like quantitative evidence about like how you're holding on to the bat. And like we are moving with the bat. So it's not just the bat like hitting the baseball, it's the bat and the force that we're putting into the bat from our hands and everything. So like figuring out, like, I don't know if it's with the energy flow stuff that Was is working with, or like those metrics or what, but like trying to figure out what contribution the bat speed itself and the bat weight, and also however much we can model how much force the batter's putting, like additional force or torque they're putting into the bat at contact. Seems like super interesting. I have no idea how to do it, or how we're gonna.
I mean, there's so many questions, and a lot of them at this point, I honestly don't know the best way to answer them. And like,
but we're gonna have the ability.
That's the key part. Is like we have the ability, and not only that, it's just like the data set we have so far, and we'll continue to get. It's just like is honestly like one of the coolest things about working here. It's like,
Did you casually get a text message and be like, "Hey, you think you could make it in on Sunday to mocap Nolan Arenado?"
Yeah, I mean, like, we have like very, very high level hitters that hit with us. And
may have won MVPs. I don't know.
Yeah, can't
Tough
name
to
names,
say.
but yeah, like, we talk about like being able to see like what the best in the world do, like we can actually see that. And I think having been a hitter myself and like working with hitters and just like being around hitters, I just think there's like a ton of different ways to be successful as a hitter, and like it's such a variable like movement. So but I do think like Dudo's kind of plan of attack is like focus on like what's the bat doing and then working backwards from there. Like at some level, like everyone who hits the ball hard is probably going to move the bat in a similar enough way. Like there's going to be some similarities there. How they do it is probably going to be a lot more variable, but it's pretty exciting. I think we're just like on the tip of the iceberg with a lot of this stuff. But
Anthony, you've mentioned it on the pitching side, how valuable it is for like modeling and stuff, having the edgers that we do now.
Yeah.
And I just like for the first time thought about how it's so nice we have that with hitting as we're building it out.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Pitching, we kind of built it out, and then we were like doing some comparisons afterwards. But with the hitting modeling and like all the biomechanics stuff we're doing with it, like we're starting out with a like really good reference point.
Yeah, just having that to like bounce back off of, to be like, is that actually what's happening after the pose estimation? Like being able to review the video. Yeah, for sure. That's pretty huge. Dude, I don't know if I'm ever going to eat ice cream again. That might be one and done for me. I feel like I need a nap.
I feel like you said that before.
That can't be true.
Did you say that after the Megadome mod we had last Friday?
I think that was someone else. I think you're thinking of someone else. Jerry, well, you got a mouthful. What you excited about anything in hitting biomechanics?
Yes.
What are you excited about? How to use it to become a better pitcher to punch out more hitters.
Well,
right?
I do think that's interesting. Yeah. As a pitching coach, if you can learn about the swing more, then you're gonna find new ways to exploit it. You're right.
Eliminate it.
To eliminate
these swings, dude.
Yeah.
Or become
eliminate the hitters.
Two-way.
Maybe Tahoma might have a new hitting coach next year. Tough to say. But I think what we're diving into now is super interesting. Just like understanding what it means when a guy's swing is quote in the zone. Like now we can start to quantify what that actually is, or like, all these things that I do think that hitting coaches have been on the right track for, but just have no way to quantify it or measure these things. Now we actually can. And if we can start to build out some of these new, like tie it to now how they're moving, right? So we look at the bat first, see how it moves through the zone. Now we tie that to what they're doing with their bodies, and now it becomes a little bit easier to start coaching some of these movements and getting the bat on the right track, all because we're kind of tying it back to what we're learning. I think those are really interesting things, and then just like learning more about how the bat moves in general. Like I didn't know before this that bat speed peaks. What we're finding is that it might peak a fraction before contact. I don't know if we know exactly for sure yet, but these new things that we're able to explore and just learn about is so fascinating, because nobody else can do it right now, or nobody else I don't think is doing it right now. It allows us to be at the forefront of hitting biomechanics.
I mean, I don't really care about that, I'll be honest.
For all levels, which is exciting.
Forefront of pitching, that's what matters to me.
So that pitching can